Okay.
Hey everybody, this is the INNERMIX show. We're here,
Yes, it is.
and we're
What
happy
else
that
could
it's
it
Monday.
be?
Yeah, exactly. We're excited. We're excited to be here. Don't judge our faces. Our faces will not tell you about our level of excitement. That's just that don't look at us. Don't look at us. Don't look at us. No. Hey everybody, I'm Simply D,
This is Jules.
and for the next some odd time, you. For the next 2 hours or so, you are going to be hanging out with us as we go through a topic that we really touched on quite a bit this week. Before we even
Well, we
got to any of the
started
facts,
talking about the topic, and then I don't know what happened last week. So.
it's like we did the pre-show for tonight's real show last week.
Yes.
Last week we talked about a lot of the stuff that we noticed going on around us, and they have to do with manipulative relationships. But tonight we're going to dive into some of the facts that came from the study that was done. I think we're going to try to hit the four facts tonight. We're going to try to get through that, and a professional show would do that with no problem.
Oh, right.
But we get sidetracked. This is a hangout after all, so we do hang out from time to time, and when things come up, we address those things.
And it's our show, so we can do that.
Yeah, exactly. Our name is on the door or on the post, whichever.
Wait, didn't we say what show this was? Did we say what show this was? It's the INNERMIX show hangouts, just in case you guys didn't get it the first time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's me.
This is where we hang out and talk about. This is where we hang out and talk about the things that we want to talk about, and we invite y'all to hang out and talk about it with us.
Mm-hmm. But sometimes we listen to what you guys want to talk about.
Usually that's how we talk what we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
By listening to what y'all going to talk about. So, before we dive into the night's topic, we're going to do what we always do. We're going to talk about Jules' weekend. Jules, how was your weekend?
My weekend. What did I do? It just kind of went in a blur. I'm not quite sure if I remember now that I sat down and thought about it right this second. My mom came back from Hawaii.
Cool.
She was there helping my sister with the new baby. By the way, she's adorable. She's starting to learn how to smile, and I guess she started to laugh a little bit. And she's only like 7 weeks old. So just imagine how ridiculously cute she is. My dad is about to die because he can't see her yet. Or my dad's in Korea, and my sister's in Hawaii with the baby. And so every day it's like new pictures, new videos. We have a little family chat room. And he's just like, I need to be there right now. But anyway, so yeah. I picked her up from I had a fun day at Costco. That's what I did.
I know how you love the place. I know how you love that place. Mm-hmm.
You know what? I have to say. So in the past, when I went on a weekend, it was so much fun because I remember as a kid going too. Like we would go with my parents, and like they have samples at like every single intersection of like aisles and rows, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have to say, this past Saturday when I went, it was very much dwindled down to like maybe 4. They don't have like good stuff no more.
Really?
They just didn't have any good stuff. Like before, they would give you like tri-tip, and like these like fish.
Oh, girl, that's too
like
expensive to give away
cake,
now. That's too expensive to give away. We can't give this stuff away no more.
I guess not. Now they do like crackers and slab of.
Have you tried this whole wheat cracker? This whole wheat cracker that you have that you have at home? Please take my cracker, please. Somebody
No,
take
seriously, and like chip and one chip and a little teaspoon of salsa. Like those are the giveaways now. So I was like, this is whack.
Not over here, because we still get some pretty good stuff over here. I mean, we get that, but we also get some of the meat. We get a lot of fish over here.
Yeah, that's how it used to be. I don't know. Maybe it's just the one near my place that I go. I mean,
well,
but,
your place is, they suck over there, so it's
but
okay.
over there in that particular one, it's crazy because it's all in. It's the closest Costco to me. Technically, it's only like 2 miles away or something. It's really close. Okay, maybe it's a little bit more than 2 miles, but it's within the 5-mile radius. Okay, yet it takes me like over 30 minutes to get there because of the traffic, because of how the roads turn into like one way or like one lane thing. It's crazy. And the parking lot, Costco needs its own parking lot. Let's be real, right?
Yep.
This parking lot, in that plaza, there's a Costco, there's a Best Buy, there's a Toys R Us, a Babies R Us, like all those things, all in one plaza. So like, it's worse than Disneyland. It's pretty bad.
Unless you
yeah.
have my handicap placard.
No, even then, because that won't work if you're just trying to like if you're on the street. You can't like go over the cars. That's what I need to invent is one of those things. When you go over the car.
Oh wow, you just
yeah. Anyway, so that was my weekend pretty much, and then I was in church and all that good stuff. But yeah, that was my delightful weekend. How about you?
Oh, I was sick all weekend.
Oh, fun.
Yeah,
Even
I had
better.
an asthma attack. I had an asthma attack that was ridiculous, and it was so ridiculous it was funny to me because I couldn't because my asthma is so bad that at one point not too long ago I was having at least 2 asthma attacks a day, and it had lasted for like 2 weeks or so, 2 or 3 weeks. So it was just back to back, and so I was like, oh, okay, well, this is normal now. But then there was a point where I couldn't even wake up out of my sleep without having a wheezing attack of some kind, and then I needed medication, blah, blah. So I'm like, okay, this is normal now, or whatever. But I felt an attack coming on Saturday that was so bad that I said, okay, I have to go through all these steps, because if I don't go through all these steps before I go to the doctor, they're going to ask me, did I go through these steps? Then they're going to ask me why I didn't go through these steps, and then if I tell them I didn't go through all the steps because the attack was feeling really horrible, then they're going to send me back home. They're going to give me a little, hold you over type medication, send me back home to go through the steps so I can go back if it don't work, right? So I just go through all the steps and passed out. Like I had to, it was just a lot of different things. And then what helps is that I actually know how to get my body to do what I want it to do. So because their medication wasn't going to do it. So I went through all the steps that I knew, and then I passed out. I don't know, like late Saturday night. Didn't make it to church on Sunday. But I slept for basically most of Sunday, like all day. Like my wife literally cleaned the room around me. She did not want me to move. She didn't want me to do nothing. She just like, no, lay there, because we had to figure out once I got up before my final get up if I was going to be having another asthma attack or not. So yesterday, no wheezing, no nothing till like the middle of the night, right? So I'm like, okay, this is cool, but I for some reason I just had a good time. I realized it's been a long time since I've had to monitor my asthma this closely or whatever. For some reason that stimulates the brain and makes my mind work.
You're strange, but maybe you just need to sleep.
Well, if that were the case, I think it was more than that. But like the sleep was one thing, but it doesn't, like, with the weather out here, day it's like super hot, then in the evening it gets really cool, then you have the air conditioning on for a little while, then you turn it off. Like it's just so many adjustments, I think, weather-wise, so temperature-wise anyway. And then on top of that you have like whatever dust is floating through the air that day, and then you have it's just a lot of different things. And we're just waiting for a medication for me to get approved for a medication that will solve most of these issues. So but until I get approved, just a good time. Actually, we got a letter in saying I got approved recently, yesterday.
Oh, good. So you did get approved.
Yeah, I'm like, wait, what am I talking about? Yeah. Thank you very much. So I have to do this medication now for 6 months to a year, and then every 2 weeks. So it's gonna be fun if I end up on the road during that time. It's like, hey, can someone bring me my medication? So it's gonna be fun. What else did I do this weekend? Worked on a. I spent a good part of the weekend while I was, going through my other stuff. I spent a good part of the weekend helping people figure out what they want to do with their life. So that was interesting too. I had time, so I spent a lot of time just talking to people. People are going through some crazy transitions right now, and life choices and all that kind of stuff. So I got a chance to spend a lot of time talking to people about stuff, and then primarily worked on helping people understand why their artists are not doing well in the marketplace. Oh yeah. And I found a new INNERMIX. I found a new group that wants to help support INNERMIX over the weekend. That was kind of cool too.
Fantastic. We always welcome that.
Yeah, we always welcome that. Well, there's always some kind of exchange involved, but I think this deal is going to work out fine. so yeah, it's just a lot of really cool things. Just like over the next in a little while, you guys are gonna see a lot more stuff happening in our social media, since now you guys don't want to hang out with us in social media. So we're starting to build up a bit of a following there too. So anyway, so tonight we're going to be talking about relationships and the manipulative kind, especially. Jules, do you still have the stuff I sent you last week?
I do, of course.
Oh, great, cool.
It's all pulled up.
Hold on. Okay. Cool.
Okay.
I've had a very. I'm just trying to get my mind focused on what we're doing here. But
You what?
I'm trying to get my mind focused on what we're doing here, because it's a very interesting day. And recently I was just cracking jokes about any and everything. So now I'm trying to bring it back.
Got it.
But
that's just one thing. So I was a little scared because yesterday, was it yesterday? Yeah, it was yesterday. I came back from church. I'm in my living room with my mom and my brother and blah blah blah. We're just about to kind of hang out. And we we turn on the news, or just turn on TV, and the news is on. And literally like 2 blocks maybe from where I live, there's a bus stop. I mean, it's a really big intersection there. 2 major streets. And I guess like at 1 something in the morning that same day, somebody got shot. Some Hispanic gentleman waiting at the bus stop. These 2 guys roll up, or they just walk up to him, I guess they talked to him a little bit, and then they just shot him, and then they ran away and got into some pickup truck and they left. So, I'm like, I walk past this place all the time. Like when I go to the market, when I do whatever. Granted, I don't do that at 1 in the morning by myself. But still, even the people that were interviewed, I was watching the news and they were like, this is a huge intersection. I don't know how this this happened and these 2 guys just got away with it. But right. I'm a little scared. But yeah, so I don't know how I feel right now about where I live. But it's okay. Because I remember my other place, which was because now I live in the city, right? Before I lived in the suburbs, before I moved into this place. And, suburb, like super suburb, where my friends was like, damn, you live in like suburbia, like literally suburbia. And, super safe neighborhood, a lot of families, a lot of, kids in school and, retired folk. And then, this was years ago, but some guy got stabbed to death in my front, my stairs in front of my building. I don't know why this keeps happening to me. It's very close. But yeah.
Well, it's happening so often.
Somebody who was visiting.
It's happening so often that sooner or later it's going to be near you. That's just statistically speaking. It's just going to be near you at some point. Because, matter of fact, I was watching a discussion on racism and how people are saying racism is over. It doesn't exist anymore, right?
Who says that?
A lot of high-ranking Caucasian officials.
Yeah, I was going to say, they're white, right? Yeah, okay.
So I was like, man, so I was watching this discussion, right? And so they said, well, let's pull together a panel to talk about this issue of so-called racism, right? Now, this was on a popular talk show. I can't remember whose show it was on, but it was an all-white panel except for the one black guy. Right, and I was cracking up, but he did a good job. He said, no. he started talking about how he said, see, when I'm here, everybody knows me as this person, blah 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 blah. But as soon as I leave, I understand, just like every other black man driving through America, that every time I see sirens in the back, and behind me, it is my job to to assume that they assume I'm guilty of something before I even know why I got pulled over.
Mhm.
And he said, so it was a really hot day. He had picked some people up from the airport. He was driving. He had his window up, air conditioner on, and he saw the lights in the back. So he reached down, pulled his wallet out, put it on his dashboard, so that way no one would ever say he was reaching for his wallet, reaching
Mhm.
for a gun, but it was his wallet, whatever. And he said, but then he said, so I sat there and I realized the cop had never come up to the car. So he looks back in his rearview mirror and sees the cop has drawn down on him, and he's yelling at him, "Get out the car!" Like
Are
he's
you
like,
kidding me?
the cop had drew down on him, right? And I'm like, well, and for you guys who don't know what draw down means, that means he pulled the gun. The cop was standing behind his door with a gun aimed at the car of the guy I'm talking about. So the guy's like, so obviously this cop has had really poor training because
Mhm.
my windows are up. He said because the air conditioner's on to keep the kids in the back cool because it's a very hot day. He said the guy never thought to use his loudspeaker on his car to say roll the window down, please put your blah blah.
Mhm.
So so when the cop so the guy says, oh, let me go through all them. This guy's a very well-known news reporter. So the guy says, okay, let me just let me roll the window down, put both my hands out the window, open the car from the outside. He's going through the stuff he usually reports on, right? And
Mhm.
and the cop never. So the cop basically told him he had to get down on the ground. Now, mind you, he was on his way to a funeral, so he had his suit on, everything. And he has to get down on the ground, all this other stuff. And just because the cop didn't know how to use his loudspeaker, to say,
So I guess this whole time he was telling him to get out prior
right.
to him drawing the gun.
Yep, I guess. But usually, they walk up to the side of your car,
Yeah.
and yeah, whatever. Nah, this dude, it was a black man in a car full of black people. So he wasn't gonna walk up to the car.
Oh my God.
It was ridiculous. So
Wait, so
and
how did it? What happened at the end? Did he sue
basically
or something?
no, he said, he actually told the cop, he said, how come you didn't? He asked him, how come you didn't just use your loudspeaker? Don't tell me what to do, boy.
No, he did not.
Yeah. He's like, you don't. Oh man, it was just bad. But I've had it happen to me. Me and my older brother have been sat on the curb. They wanted to check our canes to make sure that we weren't smuggling drugs. So they handcuffed me because they said that I was likely to start a fight. I'm like,
Well, that's true.
well, you know, sometimes they might be right. So sometimes they might be a little accurate. But I'm like, how much cane can you smuggle in a cane? Like in a pumpkin cane? Like what? So
Right.
it's like everybody just asking for powder. Just shake it out the bottom, y'all. Just shake it out.
It's like a pixie stick.
Yeah, I guess so. Like, it was just bad. But I've been handcuffed to quite a few times for no reason. Like literally, like there was a time when if you walk in a pack of four, you all get detained.
Mm.
If you walk as a pack of four through the mall, then you get detained. Now we didn't know that included my sighted guide at the time. So there was a pack of five of us walking through the mall. One happened to be a paid sighted guide. Now I was a performer, mind you, right? So I was with the label, and I got detained
What the hell?
because there were more than four of us walking together as a pack through the
So
mall.
New Edition can never walk together in the mall.
Not because they all black, so they might have gang affiliations. So anytime you see, so that's what it was for. So if you have more than four people walking in a pack through the mall together, they must be in a gang. That was the reasoning behind it.
Did that only apply to black men?
Primarily, and Hispanic men too.
Mm, interesting. I have heard that before. It's the stupidest thing in the world, but yes, I have heard that before.
I was like, what? Like, it's like he's looking over. Hey, hey, so got you too. Huh? How many people were you walking with? Six, man. Six. Six? Oh man, no. They only got me for five. I'll be out before you.
That is so
It
ridiculous.
was crazy. Yeah, man. And then you have to try not to be bitter or try not to,
Yeah.
pump up songs like, F the police and stuff like that. Like, so, oh man, so that's why you got to try to stay positive even in not so positive situations. Anyway, that's not what we're here to talk about today, y'all. But that was just flash into the history of Simply D and and why I try to stay positive, because one day, the day Jules has to come bail me out, it has to be really worth it. It can't be because I was walking in a pack of 6.
I'll just leave you in there for being so
Like, you can't
careful.
count, homie? You can't count? You didn't know that you were number 4? You didn't know you were number 6? Jules, honestly, Jules, I couldn't see. I didn't know somebody had joined the group. Please, don't give me that. You knew you were part of that. Yeah. I could have sworn it was the sheriff. I didn't know. No, leave him in there, officer. He should have known how to count. He should have learned how to count to 6.
He knows I'm Asian. I require that kind of stuff.
If you had simply said, I know there were 6 of us. No. With 3 left and 3 more joined you, that's when you knew. They left. So anyway, tonight, you guys, we're talking about manipulative relationships. We're talking about how to recognize whether you're in one and what to do once you recognize that you're in a manipulative relationship, and to find out if you or the one you are with are the manipulator. I was trying to figure out if I was going to say is or are. I'm going to go with are. The manipulator is the manipulator. I feel like I was being tested. So we're going to read the, well, Jules is going to say we, but I'm not. Jules is going to read the top part of this thing for you, so you guys have a better idea of what the study was really talking about, and how to think, and what to think, or how to gear your mindset toward what we're about to be talking about today. Because one thing we want to make clear is, just because someone may have some manipulation tactic, tendencies, there you go, does not mean that they are all bad, but it doesn't mean that they're all good either. So you have to kind of take it with a grain of salt. But one thing we'd like you guys to do is listen to some of the questions that are going to be asked, and then ask yourselves these questions truthfully and realistically. Don't sit there and try to sugarcoat your answers to these questions, because the only person you can, the only person who's going to know if you're lying or not is you and God.
It's you, yeah.
And so and then I'm going to do the best I can to answer some of these questions too. So, hey, let's rock with it. Let's roll with it. Okay, Jules, read us in.
So we'll start. As your relationship with a new person in your life has developed, you find your old friends falling away, while family members remark on how you don't seem like yourself. How are you losing yourself to an odd and ultimately destructive relationship? Before you can regain your individuality and strength, you'll need to determine if the relationship is taking something away, and if so, put an end to the destructive cycle. For the purposes of the article, we'll alternate between male and female gender examples, and while the steps are directed towards romantic relationships, they do not seem to apply. Oh, sorry, they do apply to any kind of relationship. So basically, this is not only for, boyfriend, girlfriend, wife, husband. It applies to, your friends and your family members and so on and so forth.
Exactly.
And, when I was reading through this thing, a lot of it was really, really, really accurate. And then other things, I had kind of my opinion. But I think the study itself, in a whole, it's not saying, every single situation, it's for 100% is that. It is giving you like a general overview. So like what Dee said earlier, take it with a grain of salt. It's not necessarily if you find one of these things, you're in a manipulative relationship. But if you find yourself that when you're answering all of these things and your answers are yeses to like 9 out of 10, evaluate.
Well, and plus, is an accumulative situation. The way the study was originally done was to find the least likely, because everybody has some manipulative tendencies. Everybody's got something in their system that says, I'm going to get what I want this time. But what they were trying to, like I said last week, what they were trying to do was make sure that someone wasn't in a situation where they were being manipulated, especially if they were in a position of power, where they did not have control over their own thought processes. So the more you find yourself saying, yeah, that's my relationship, yeah, that's my relationship, yeah, the more you find yourself saying, yeah, the more you learn that you are probably slipping into somebody else's control without even realizing it. Because a lot of times we don't even recognize that we're being manipulated. First off, you wouldn't be being manipulated if you recognized it. Let's you know, and then, you know, because then you're just letting them do it.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
But some people do that though.
Well, yeah, if you want somebody, well, okay. Sometimes if you want to see how far somebody will go, you know, you will let them. Sometimes if you just want to avoid static, I said static, but yeah, if you want to avoid some static, then you'll just let them go because you're like, it's not a huge win. It's a very small victory for them, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But because that's all I let people have, a small victory. No, that's wrong.
Because, you know, there was a time, I'll talk about one particular relationship, long time ago. Obviously, it was a failed one. um, and I remember there was a time in my life when I was not, you know, I didn't have a good understanding of who I was. I was not as confident as I am, you know, as a woman, you know, as a person in general, just being confident in my own skin, you know, all those things. I was just very young-minded and not experienced enough in life, I guess, in different, you know, certain parts, certain aspects of life, and then particularly in relationships, and I didn't know what I needed or what I wanted. And when I got into this one particular relationship, it was very manipulative, and I kind of recognized it in a way, but you know, for a very short time I was in this relationship, I allowed it to happen. One, because I think in a weird, like, subconscious, you know, psychological state that I was in, I was interested in experimenting. Like, how far can I go? You know, how far will this person go, and how far will I allow somebody to control me or manipulate me? And it wasn't so bad. You know, it wasn't so bad, you know, as it sounds right now. But
No,
I did.
I've heard this before. I've heard this recently where somebody literally told me, they said, "Well, I just want to see, you know, how far it'll go." They said, "Because I'm just curious." I'm like,
Yeah. I was like that. I was exactly like that. And, you know, that can be dangerous. But, you know, luckily, people, you know, God, you know, used people to pull me out and snap me back into reality. But, you know, there was a time when I was like that. So I can see how, even though you recognize that you're being manipulated, you still, you know, can allow it to happen for however long. I don't know. Some people short period, some people very long period, unfortunately. And, you know, you feel like you still have control of the situation because you're like, I'm allowing it to happen. I know,
I have control.
you know, but yeah. But yeah, that's not fun times. It's not fun times.
I had this conversation a week ago or so, and it was
really?
Yeah. and you remember we talked about my 7, you know, but this is one of those things where I've had this conversation with, you know, and everybody wants to. Like if they understand that they're in a manipulative relationship, they're like, yeah, but you know, I'm just curious. I mean, maybe he'll stop trying to manipulate me and just fall in love with me, or maybe you know, it's just like, why would he? Like, what? He's getting away with whatever he wants to do. Why would he? You know, and then this is not a practice this is not something I do all the time, but I did have to ask I thought I was really not feeling well and I was really tired on Friday. And someone basically said, you know, I'm just curious. You know, it was a bunch of discussion, but they were curious about a whole bunch of things that had to do with wanting to see if they could have more power than the one they were with, right? But first off, the one they're with is actually smarter than them, and I know this. You know, at least more strategic. You know, they're way more strategic. They're way more manipulative. They're, you know, and to me, you know, it's not even close to what I could have been if I were like going down that road. But I know that, you know. A lot of these girls are just wide open. Like, I was gonna say figuratively and literally, but we'll just go with that. But a lot of these girls are just wide open. So because of it, you know, but nobody wants to say I'm being I'm with somebody who is mistreating me. I'm with somebody who is this, that, and the other. So what they rather say is, oh, I can't lose this. I'm not gonna let somebody beat me. I'm like, look, if you don't if you don't walk away, he's literally gonna beat you because he can't. And you're gonna keep coming back. And and then all I hear is oh no, that would never happen to me. No, no. And then so with one of the girls I was talking to, I said, no, never, huh? And she's like, no, it'll never. I said, so you're telling me that last week you didn't call me because you were shocked that he hit you? Well, that was an accident.
Oh.
He told me it was an accident, and and I believed him because he would never want to hurt me. So I don't really think of that as hitting me so much as just an accident that happens. Sometimes you can be playing around, and sometimes you get a little, it's a little too rough or whatever. But it's like kids, So me in my tired state, and I have a filter, and these filters, they work sometimes, but sometimes they don't. And so I said, are you stupid? Like, have you just lost all your faculties? Have you just gone down the stupid road and decided this is where I'm going to be? And I guess when I say it, it's shocked because her friends had asked her the same thing, and she brushed it off. When I asked her, she started crying. I said, why are you crying? I'm asking the same question as your friends asked you. Have you decided you're going to go down a road called stupid? And she's like, well, what am I going to do if I don't have him? Then what am I going to do? Then who am I going to be? I'm like, oh my God, this is deep.
Oh, so he defines her.
Yeah, but anybody who's in a relationship long enough, they start to, whether they want to or not, they start to become defined by the relationship they're in. So, because I think she'd been with him for over a year, like maybe a year and a couple of months, like 3 months, that she had started to identify herself as his girl. And she started to identify herself as, this is the relationship I'm going to be in for the rest of my life. Whether it's healthy or not, she just decided this is what it's going to be. And because everything will change in the future. I was in LA a couple of weeks ago, and I was talking to an older lady who said that she was in one of these kind of relationships for 12 years before she got the strength to get out. I'm like, 12 years, So, and then the woman sitting next to her said, "Oh yeah, took me 6." I'm like, 6 years. I'm like, man, I just.
But I have to say, I was talking to my mom and some other people. I went to a different church. I went to the old Korean church I used to go to a long time ago. This past Sunday, and I talked to a lot of the women there. And nowadays, I really enjoy talking to older women, or just older, older people in general. They just.
That's why you like talking to me. Got it.
Yeah, I do. That's exactly why. I like to interact with them because they get to now. I feel like I'm in the middle between the two generations. I'm in that gap, and I think that's how I am right now in my current family affairs too, because I'm kind of the middle between my parents and my younger siblings. Because there's, granted, my parents and I have a gap too, but I'm in more of an adult situation than my siblings are, other than my sister who's already married and have kids. Whatever, that's beside the point. And it isn't mind-wise. So I, try to connect everybody on how the other party understands or why they react a certain way and whatnot. And that's what I kind of happened to do this past Sunday, and talking with all these women. And something that has been kind of overall general consensus with everybody talking about very similar things is finding not happiness just in your relationship, not being defined by your relationship, and not giving up 100% of yourself for the relationship, because that's, I don't know about all the other races, but in particular in the Korean culture, especially my parents' era and all that, like sacrificing yourself for the family was like the ultimate thing you needed to. Other than obviously for God, if you're a Christian family, but you needed to sacrifice your personal whatever for the sake of the family, and that's something instilled in all of us too. Like as the generations go on, it's getting less and less as we're getting more Americanized. But the people in Korea, that's kind of how it was. Like especially for the woman, you sacrifice for the good of the family. And as mothers, that's what you needed to do. And, my mom, that's exactly what she did. She was when she used to live in Korea, she was like, at her level or at her age or generation, going to grad school was very, very rare. And she got there with a full scholarship. My mom was a smart cookie, and she did child psychology. She wrote books. She had videos. She worked for like a huge research company or lab in Korea, very, very, very known and respected. And she met my dad at church. My dad was a youth pastor at the time. Came to America to study. And originally was supposed to just study, get his PhD here for theology, and then go back to Korea. Ended up getting a job offer in America. And so he called for, at the time I was born, my sister was born, he called all of us to come live with him in America. And it's my mom, just knowing that it's God's work. My dad's a pastor, so like she needed to go. So she cut everything. She stopped everything, moved all of us to America. And when I talked to her recently, not that she regrets doing what she did, because she defined herself as my dad's wife and pastor's wife. She's doing work of God and all those things, which are all amazing. But she wishes that she continued advancing herself and her knowledge and counseling or doing something, because for a while she didn't do any of those educational things that she was so fond of doing when she was in Korea, all the research and all of those things. She stopped doing it, and she just fully devoted herself to just church and family. And then she started to feel like she lost herself. And recently when I talked to her and the other women, there was the same thing about how you think being happy. Oh, and another thing that I watched about an agent, an actor agent or manager of like all like 30 different actors in Korea. He thought their happiness, if they got jobs and if they succeeded and they were super happy in their career and their life, that would bring him happiness, because he thought of them as like his children or like his family. But then 30 years goes by or whatever it is, and he still finds himself not satisfied and not happy only just because they're happy. And I think a lot of women, at least in my life that I've kind of talked to, the ones that are older, they've been like that if my family was happy, if all of this other things was happy, then I would also be happy. But that's not always the case, because you have to still develop yourself and your desires and your talents and your skills that God gave you. And if you don't do that, if you kind of just put that underneath everything and not develop those things and not culture those things, then ultimately I think you feel choked. And I think you start to get more stress, and the little things that you do find happiness in, they don't bring you joy anymore, because it's not exactly what you want to do. Why did I start talking about this? I don't remember, but it had to do a lot with like it's not that all the husbands of the situation were manipulative at all. That's not really the case. But what I'm saying is, find you have to. Oh, I think it because she defined herself as his girlfriend, and that was it. Like her definition of who she was defined by this guy and the relationship she was in, and that should never be the case, because that's just a part. That's just a part of what you are going to be doing in your life. Even if she gets married to the guy, that's just a one aspect of who you are, but it shouldn't be 100% of who you are. Never.
I think that one of the issues that most young people and some older people face right now is they want to be in a relationship. So that becomes like the forefront thing in their mind.
Everything, yeah.
Yeah, they're everything. So when that happens, then it's hard to say yes, but you're losing yourself. You're losing yourself. But they're like, no, because everything's good. And everybody believes in the catch-up theory. Actually, I was talking to a friend of mine. He's like, everybody believes they can catch back up once they get what they want. Then they can go back and still catch up on the other things that they really want to do. But they want to primarily focus on, so instead of relationship being X percentage of your time, it has become like 98% of your time. The 2% is work,
Mm-hmm.
sort of like that. And then, so everybody thinks, okay, but after I get into this relationship, after the relationship gets together, then I'll be able to spend less time with the relationship and more time with the things that I want to do. And then, like, in my experience, that is not how that works. Especially if you don't have somebody who is supportive of what you want to do. And most of the time, you're going to find that you're not going to have somebody who's going to be 100% supportive of what you want to do. That's, especially the way people hook up nowadays. It's rare. It's a rarity. Not everybody's saying, hey, you know what? I understand that you want to go back to school, so let's take a few years off. If you don't mind taking a few years off, I promise we can, you can go back to school, blah, blah. Like, I know one of my wife's biggest ambitions is to go back so she can become an accountant, right? So everything that we do is never something that I forget about. But in the meantime, when she had the opportunity to go train for this or train for that, even though it changed the family structure a bit, I'm like, go do it, because it made her happy, it made her smile, whatever. So she never felt like she had to give up everything just to be my wife or to be the mother of our kids. But I find in a lot of situations that is not the case. And when I sit and talk to wives about, like, people who want to be in entertainment, right? For example, that's a big one, but there's also others. But let's just stick with what we know. So people who want to be in entertainment, now I've seen this where if a man says, I still want to be an actor, I have a job, blah blah, but I still want to be an actor. I recently heard his wife tell him, you need to give up those childish dreams and just be a man, right? I'm like,
what?
Wow, that was, but. When she talked about, now, same woman, when she talked about wanting to be a model, he said, well, go ahead. You're a beautiful woman. I believe that you can do it. So I'm trying to figure out how it goes one way and not the other, per se.
Yeah.
But you'll find that a lot of the times, usually if the woman says I want to be a model, the man's like, oh, no, I'm not going to have everybody looking at my girl. And if the guy says he wants to be an actor or a performer or something, then she's like, oh, please, if you were good, then... Now, I've actually heard this. If you were good, you would have actually already made it. So you need to give up that dream and just go do something else. But
wow,
in the whole courtship thing, everybody was super supportive. But then once they got married, then for some reason, the clause came out. Everything changed. Because they got what they wanted. They got to the point that they wanted. But much like...
And they wanted to stay that way? Like nothing changed after that point?
Well, nothing really. Well, because once people got married, what they just, everybody's like, okay, well, when are we going to have a family? If you want to keep doing this, when are we going to have this? What about this? What about that? So like everything was sweet for like a month and a half, 2 months. And then as soon as somebody started talking about wanting to go back to what they really love to do. Now, I know that this dude and his girl used to go to acting class together. I know that this dude and this girl, you see what I'm saying? Like, I know that when she wanted to go do when she was doing modeling stuff, when she was working with Hot Import Nights, or when she was doing whatever he was Johnny on the spot, selling her posters, helping her do your stuff. Now, he's like, I still got your back. She's like, you're not good enough to do any of these things, so you need to stop trying and be a man.
Wow.
I'm like, what in the hell? I couldn't find another word.
Seriously.
but the thing is, everything changes. Like, like people's real feelings come out when they realize that they've got you locked in. And then much like the performing industry, like let's talk about record deals for a minute. But like when people always feel like it's a lot of work, it's really hard to get to that record deal. But then they never think about how much work it's going to be once they get it. And usually the work is like 10 times, if not 20, 30 times harder than it was before you got the deal. Well, same thing with relationships. A lot of times people are like getting into the relationship, they think it's the hardest part. Maintaining the relationship is they think that's the hard part. Wait till you get married. Wait till you start discovering that the dream you have for you and the dream you have for you, both of you, doesn't match up with what they expect from you. And a lot of times those expectations start to reveal themselves. And at first we knock them away like, oh, blah, blah. You sit, you have your deep conversation, you explain your passion, they explain their passion, they explain their reason, you explain your reason. It happens with everything, whether you're talking about being an entrepreneur or being a mechanic, but you already have a job as an air conditioning person, stuff like that. But you say, I really want to go into welding, and they're like, no, why change? You're getting a good paycheck now. Don't change, but I really don't enjoy this job. Well, it doesn't matter. I mean, I've heard these conversations. You know, so that's why I know that one verbatim almost because I've really heard that one. You know, but he's like, but I can make more money in welding, and I really enjoy it. You know, when I did it with my dad, but I never got formally trained. I want to go to school. And, oh, so you're going to cost us money just so you can go get another job when you already have a job that pays okay? You know, and then the question that got me at the end of that whole conversation was, well, am I going to have money to do my nails?
Oh my God. Wait, what? I could slap somebody right now. Like, I can even slap something.
It's incredible. Like it is absolutely incredible. So like I know I've literally heard somebody say, you know, I love you, I want to be with you for the rest of our lives, but if you get sick, I can't stay. I've heard, you see what I'm saying? Like I've heard these statements, and I'm like, where do we start? You know, like you see what I'm saying? So when you talk about somebody who so I know women who don't expect their husbands to stay around when they get sick. I know women who say, well, you know, I'm sick, so right now he just, you know, I understand. He just has to deal with sick people because he's had these issues before in the past, and, you know, he just doesn't know how to deal with it. So it's okay. I'll deal with it on my own. Oh, I'm like,
that is so sad.
Yeah. You know, so, but anyway, so there's a lot of work that goes into, you know, like, because there are given expectations, just like Jules said in her demographic, that you know, it's expected that the woman is going to give up whatever she's doing to, you know, give her all to the family. But that's actually how it was in, you know, especially in the South. Oh my goodness, especially in the especially in the South. But and then those, you know, as my family, because my family was from the South originally. This probably explains why I talk sometimes the way I do. But the thing is, when they came to California, those same principles came with it. So I remember, especially my older cousins and stuff, when they said, you know, they were getting married or whatever, and now some of them had really good jobs, like Jules' mom. And they were told by their mother, you know, no, you need to give that job up and be the mother of the house. You need to raise them kids for him because he needs a, you know, he needs a wife, not a business partner or whatever. You see what I'm saying? And and I'm like, that is, but what if she liked her job? You know, and I was young at the time. Mm-hmm. What if she liked what she did? You know, now, you know, a lot of them are struggling because they never, they never pursued her part of the job, and in his part of the job, you know, once the buildings were built and once certain things were done, then his jobs were over. Because, you know, construction workers, you know, a lot of times they didn't get pulled over for next jobs if they could find somebody to do the work for cheap. So it was just, you know, it's just a crazy time. But anyway, when you make somebody your whole world, you lose yourself. And when you lose yourself, trying to get back to who you are is difficult. It is not an easy thing because now you're trying to make time for yourself when really the issue used to be just making time for the other person. Now you have to learn how to, and it's funny because you hear this a lot in relationship counseling. You need to make time for yourself. Where before that was never the issue. You see what I'm saying? That wasn't the issue that they told you. They said you need to learn how to consider others. You need to learn to take time and understand their needs and blah blah. Now you understand their needs so much that you have lost sight of your needs. You have lost the ability to see what you need in the relationship, and so because of that, it is important that you take this time for yourself. Something that has nothing to do with work. Something like like there's a woman I know right now. She just took up archery. I said, out of all things you could have did to relax, you want to shoot an arrow through something.
Yeah.
She, you know, she said it was either this or a gun, and she said, and it's gonna take me a while to load this thing up, but if he makes us, I said, I got you.
So, you like Katniss. Katniss it up. I like it.
so she, because let me tell you guys that when you take time away for yourself, that doesn't mean just going to the beach to relax. Yeah, that's cool. But do the thing you enjoy doing for you because it does something to actually encourage your heart. It does something to actually make you feel confident about, you know, who you are. But a lot of the times what manipulators or people will tell you, this is what I expect of you. And if you want this relationship to work, you need to understand what I need from you. Right? And guys tend to get away with this better, by the way, because and I'll explain why. You know, I was not going to at first, but I'll explain why. because men know, especially if the woman is, if the woman has shown that she really is dependent on the relationship, and she's willing to swallow her pride, her desires more often than not, then he knows that if I put enough time in, she's not going to want to start over, because women are the queens of saying, oh no, just drop that one, get a new one, this blah blah. But when they're in the relationship, they don't want to start over, especially if they've been in for over X amount of time. I was about to put a time limit on that, but I'm not.
Number on it, yeah,
no. So you see, I had to catch that one. but there is a statistical fact. I'll say that. But if women are in a relationship for over a certain amount of time, they do not want to start over. They would rather try to fix it than to start over from scratch. Because in that whole starting over from scratch thing, a lot of times they have to rediscover who they are post-relationship. And that is a hard journey for some people. That is a very hard journey. Like if the person didn't do something that just rocked your entire world in existence, like they didn't sleep with your sister, they didn't do, then, you know what I'm saying? Like you didn't catch them in the room with your mama or something. Then you're like, well, anything else can be worked on, and so even women who've been hit, women who've been cheated on, when they, if they say, oh, I really love this man, and they're not married, they're just like, but I know I can make it work. I can get him to be faithful to me. I just got to learn how to do more things so that I become his mistress. Right?
Mistress?
Yeah, because have you ever heard this? Maybe you haven't, but when some women, when they get cheated on, they say it's because I wasn't doing things that pleased him. I need to become his mistress. I need to become like that woman that he stepped out, to see, because chances are she was doing things that I just told him I wouldn't do. So what she does is then she, basically turns herself into whatever she imagines the other girl to be, because she wants to hold on to him so much that she gives up part of herself to become the image in her mind, because she has no idea who the girl is. All she figures is that he went after this girl because she was willing to do more than she was willing to do. So now this is usually a very
she blames herself. She blames herself, not the one who actually is the culprit.
No, but just like, look at any of those TV shows. The women attack each other. They don't attack the man in the middle just sitting there smiling. And he's like, look, I love you both. I don't know why we got to fight like this. No, you took my man. Oh, you took my man. I'm like, wait a minute. Wait. How come he's sitting there just cheesing?
Seriously.
Like Jerry, Morty, whatever else, Phil, whatever. I try to tell them that, sometimes a man's just got to be a man, and they just don't understand that men just have their needs. And look, you wasn't going to do what she was willing to do, so you just have to deal with the fact that I had to find somebody who would do it because I'm a man. Mans have needs,
Hail to the no.
But there is a group of women who say, I understand. But what did she do? Well, what was she willing to do? Because first off, he has to get caught cheating, right? When he gets caught, this is usually this is one of the phrases that come out. Hold on. This is one of the things that men who would like to manipulate say, well, what did you think I was going to do? Of course I was going to cheat. Every time that I want to be close to you, you say, no, you're tired, or you don't want to do this, or you don't want to do that, or blah, blah. And you know that I love you, but I have needs too. And I didn't want to step out on you, but you made me have to. But you made me have to do that because I really wanted to be with you. But you kept pushing me away. You pushed me right into her arms. Tell me that's not the truth.
You could go right back to her arms.
I don't think it was her arms that he was in. But yeah, but see what I'm saying? Like,
right.
But you see how those words play? You see how, so, and I've seen the most confident and I've seen some of the weakest minded people fall for the same lie. Because all he did, he laid out the facts. Now, true, he could have been stepping out way before she started saying no. But she never asked how long this has been going on. all she's, because at first she's mad, she's hot, she's all up in there. And you went out and you hanging out with that, and all she did, I bet that's why you don't make it home on time, huh? That's why, and you living in my house, you living in my bed, and then right there, wait. You can be mad if you want to, but this is your fault.
Oh, that just got me so heated. Oh my God.
Like, this is your fault, because see, I could have been all yours, but you decided you didn't want to spend time with me. You didn't want to go to this and that and the other with me. Every time I wanted to be with you, you just said you didn't have time, you didn't feel like doing that, and you don't do those things. Good girls don't do those things. Well, maybe I need me somebody who's not always going to be a good girl. But you said you love me, but yet you keep saying no to me? Oh, please, no. Like, there's just all this stuff.
Oh.
Yeah, you see what I'm saying? So, but these girls, they're like, but I really, so some of the girls will turn themselves into what he just described, because they want to be those things. So, well, kind of, but but they'll do hoish things, girl. They'll So some of these girls, and I'm working with one right now. This is how, so these stories are very recent for me, but I'm working with one right now where she was in a position where she was doing things that she never wanted to do. And she's been hurt. She's, bleeded. A lot of stuff. A lot of crazy stuff happened because she was trying to keep this man happy. And so, because she didn't want to be cheated on again, so she turned. So he said, so all he had to do was come in and say, well, he was always willing to do this, that, the other. So this girl learned how to do a lot of things that she never wanted to do, and her body wasn't built for some of these things. So she suffers medical issues based on her trying to please him.
Why is she holding on to him so hard? I don't understand.
Because she doesn't want to start over. Who else is going to want her now that she's played the role of the fool and this, that, and the other? Because, a lot of us have the same thing where we believe that the way we
does every person on this planet knows what you knows?
Right, but that's how we feel, though. We feel like people can see that we were stupid, or that we played the role of the fool, or that this, that, and the other. And then the one thing women always say, and guys say it too, because I said it a lot. I see so many benefits in this person. They're not all bad, And even the report that apparently we're not going to get through today, it says that they're not all bad, But the thing is, when people want to manipulate you, they're going to take your fear. They're going to take your insecurity, whatever it may be, and your ethics. Like if I wanted to manipulate somebody, I would take what they hold dear to them and use that to get what I need from them. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So when you say, okay, well, you want to be a good Christian woman. Well, in the Bible, doesn't it say that you should never deny your husband? But see, women don't know they don't know the other part of the scripture that basically says, but during this time, it is actually, God says not to join with your wife and your husband. And there's two times when God says not to join together. One is through menstruation, the other is during fasting. All of a sudden, go on a fast, y'all. Go on a fast. Because I can see Jules now. So you want fasting?
No. Talk to the green juice.
She gonna have a little thing on the door that like the do not disturb is gonna be the one she flips it over, like one's open, the other one says fasting. He's gonna look at the door and just go to the couch, like, you know what, it's not even worth it. She's gonna have that sign on the room door that says, I have the right to refuse service. Like they have in restaurants, but
how you know it's gonna be not the other way around, huh? That he has a sign. Probably will.
That would be interesting.
Anyway.
D. So what's the shut off button, man? Hey, do you know a shut off switch or something? Like, can't help you, man. I don't know her like that. I just need her to get to work on time. That's all I
Good luck on that one.
You ain't got no switch, no nut. I said, well, there's one, but it'll knock her out for hours, and then, she won't be on time for work. And we know how she is about time anyway, so I can't run that risk, man. I'm sorry. You just got to buck up.
Advil PM. Ad libitum.
Knock her
Anyway.
out. But anyway,
Yeah.
but anyway, so but it is, so when you point like when you're pointing something back at somebody, it's like it's let's put it like the average mind, has a level of manipulation that it does all the time. Like, well, I want to get these shoes. Oh, no, better yet, I want to get these sunglasses. So, so she walks her boyfriend by the sunglass places. Oh, aren't these cute on me? Oh, these are so cute on me. Oh, but I can never afford this. But she knows he can. Again,
Mm-hmm.
I recently talked about this, right? So she's like, but what do you think? And so he's like, oh yeah, no, they're nice. So this dude thinks it's his idea to surprise her with these sunglasses.
Uh-huh. Yep.
Right? She's already told her friends, I bet you I get these sunglasses.
Oh my God.
Right? So he goes back into the
See,
store
sometimes
after
that happens naturally. If it's contrived like that, that's manipulative. But there are times, sometimes you go shopping with somebody and you just talk whatever is coming out of your, what you're thinking, but it's not necessarily, something that you plan ahead.
Shopping with you versus a girlfriend trying to get her boyfriend to do something because she knows he can afford it. Like, or because a lot of times, hold on. I was listening to a message, but I was like, I'm not even gonna say that one. But well, I'm gonna say that. So can't remember the name, but basically the message was well, of course, because those sunglasses might get him laid. So.
Lordy. That is true.
Oh, Lord.
Unfortunately, yeah, that's true.
So it's an investment, but $200 and some odd dollars for some sunglasses for possibly. I don't know. That's a big gamble for me.
But what if he just really wanted to get it for her because he wants to make her happy? There's nothing wrong with that.
Well, there's some.
But I do see something wrong with, the woman preconceiving or pre-contriving all this prior to, like, I'm gonna go try these things on, tell him how good I look in them, and then say I can't afford it, and then
You've never been in a group of you have a different group, but I was like, you've never been in a group of girls who actually sit around and discuss these things and help each other figure out ways to get their men to do stuff.
Oh hell, seriously?
Seriously. I've been the guy sitting in the group like, would this work for you? Like, if I do something like this, or I toss my hair, like, oh my God, she's beautiful, and I want to get her stuff. Like, would you do? Like, I'm telling you, girl, there's a whole.
Oh my God, she's beautiful, and I want to get her stuff. What the hell? Oh yeah. My God.
Okay, first off, you have to understand that men. We say this all the time, whether it's in comedy, whether it's in, just a town hall lecture, whether it's on YouTube. We say it all the time. We are not complicated. We are not the smartest people, when it comes down to dealing with women. We are stimulated, and then we are drawn in like they are the black hole, and we just can't resist certain things. So, like, for instance, no, I'm not gonna do that. But but there are women who can use their voice, and they know when they want to get away with stuff, so they will change their vocal tone to try to convince a man to let them off without any. Like, so do you mind? Like, I call it phone tone. When you call somebody at work, they have one tone. You talk to them, and if they want something particular, if they want something particular, then it's a whole nother tone, and it's always sweet, and it's kind, and it's really soft, and it's whatever, because women learn to use these tones to get what they want from the man that they're dealing with. Now, me, I'm fully aware of these tones, right? But like we talked about earlier, I will let stuff go. I will be like, okay, yeah, sure, no problem. But it doesn't mean that I didn't recognize the tone that was being used on me. Somebody tried it the other day. And but my advantage is I have all women friends, so I've heard all these tones, and they, it only And there's only a few that have come up with some new ones recently. But for the most part, you don't need to call none of them people, by the way. But but for the most part, it's the same pattern. And it's just because I'd rather do this than do this. So let me see if I can get you to let me off from doing this by simply changing my tone. I think, they want to try to use whatever they have, just like men. That joke, that thing guys do where they say, they try to look all muscular, they try to do the stuff, and they try to get that smile on, they try to get that Tyrese smile, or that whatever smile, that Tyson Beckford smile on you, and they, or whatever. Sometimes do the thing with the hair. That usually only works on white girls, but whatever. But when I do the thing with the hair, and whatever. And then some guys have learned to do the slow motion without making it look like they're doing slow motion. But I used to watch guys do this all the time, at school. And it was the funniest thing in the world because I'm like, man, what are you doing? They're like, man, look, girls like that slow motion. They think they're in a movie or something. It's really cool. And he said, but watch, because I don't want to pay, but she going to pay tonight, blah, blah.
What the hell?
I'm like, he's like, it's not like I don't have money. Now, I know this dude had money because his family owned a toy company. I know he had a lot of money. He used to walk around showing us how much he had, but he never paid for any of his dates. He never thought he never thought any girl was worth paying for it. He'd rather spend.
Wow.
Because, he knew that he didn't have to really focus on one when he could focus on them all. So, because he was one of the guys. He's one of the guys that, I used to hear, use these lines like, well, you knew who I was, and you still wanted to be with me. So then are you saying that, that it was my fault? Or are you just saying that you made a mistake in trying to fault for somebody like me when you knew that I was this kind of guy? And you know and you knew what this was when we first got together, so are we going out or not? Well, yes. Okay.
I can't fault the guy. He was being honest from the get-go.
Yeah.
You're right. You're right. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like, but then you watch this girl over the course of of not only that relationship, but of the relationship, and she always went for the same guy. It's always the same thing. And so one day I just had to ask her. I said, "So do you like being just?" Actually, back then I was a little more crude, but do you like people just sleeping with you and moving on? Let's fix it like that, right? She's like, I think I called her a pincushion or something back in the day. And she was like, why would you say that? I said, well, let's just look over the last semester. You've been with this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy, and this guy.
Damn.
And they've all treated you the same way, and they all run in the same clique. So now everybody's
even worse.
So I said, and she's like, do you want to go out with me?
What? How does that make any sense?
Because she didn't know how to not be in some kind of relationship, whether it was healthy or not. She needed to be with somebody who gave her validated.
That's not a relationship.
Oh, I know, girl, but right. But that's the thing is now it's like if you talk to young people now, they'll tell you, I don't want to get married, I just want to be in a relationship.
What?
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's a very common phrase right now. I don't want to get married, I just want to be in a relationship. And then the guy on that side of the equation, because that's what the girls are saying. The guy is saying, well, I really don't want to call it a relationship because I don't want to be tied down, and I just don't want to call it something that it's not. And, maybe one day you might make it, literally, it's maybe one day, if you play your cards right, you could be my girlfriend. But I'm not going to call you that
hell no.
until I'm sure that you're girlfriend material. And now let me tell you, that is the gateway to most of the manipulation that's going on with a lot of the younger people nowadays. That is the gateway drug. Because now they're trying to earn their spot. It's a girlfriend title.
Oh, hell no.
See,
I don't want to have kids.
With a lot of
to raise them up in this kind of environment. That's horrible.
With a lot of the young women, that might not even be so good. That might not be good either, because then they won't have any exposure to this stuff to know what they're looking. So they're gonna fall in love right away. Oh my God, they really love me.
No, I'll pick them. I'll pick them.
No, you can't. I'll pick
It's
them.
gonna be
Well,
arranged marriages all the way. Okay.
now
Okay.
we've talked about the guys, what they do, but a lot of the girls, what they do now. Well, this is a very old one. They just added a little spin to it, but it's a very old one. If you want this, then you're going to have to do this. If you want this, and because now giving it away is nothing. But now they don't give it away unless there's a product attached to it. Recently, a guy had to get earrings for his girl for her to put out. But then, yeah, another one had to do like the bracelet thing. Now let me tell you, $5
Question.
bracelet,
Question. What?
$5. I'm like, what are you talking about right now? He's like, well, it was just like a little $5 thing, so it was no big deal. And I'm like, no big deal. You just paid $5. She's charging you $5 to get. You
Question.
just
How
paid
is
for it.
that any different than prostitution?
It's not. It's not there. It's not. It's like one is like so what the guys are doing to the girls is the equivalent of falling in love with your captor. Stockholm syndrome. The
Mm-hmm.
guy treats you really bad, but you still love him. You see all these great qualities in him, and what he does, he doesn't do on purpose. It's just who he is, and it's because of the role. It's because of how life has treated him, and blah blah. So the girls start to identify with the captor. Where with the other one, the girls say, well, it's just sex. It's just it's just bodies, whatever. But I might as well get something out of it. I mean, literally, there's a girl in our industry. She's done music videos for everybody. Her nickname is Superhead. That's what they know her as. Nobody
Oh
even
my
knows her real name.
god.
No, for real.
That.
But
Oh
this
my
girl,
god.
no, but this girl, she has earned just big houses, cars. People have bought her just all this stuff. So she loves her nickname. I'm like, how do you go home to your family and say, hey, I just bought y'all something? Like, dad doesn't even want to know what you had to do to get that vacation, that trip, that whatever. Because for these rappers and singers, it's like here's $5,000, no big deal to me. I just made it back. See, whatever. But how do you have a nickname like Superhead? And recently, the only reason I ever thought about it because some article came out recently talking about everybody that she's been with or something like that, and I'm like, this is the nastiest list of situations I've ever heard. But a lot of young people are using the same tactics that she used, to get what they want because they don't see a problem with it because they figure, well, that's how people will get what they want nowadays. So, and that number of people is growing, and that's what makes it so bad. Like it used to be like a small offset group that we used to just call them prostitutes. Now, or the girls were easy. Now, this is becoming popular culture type stuff. So it's no longer just a situation where people are saying, oh, these girls have bad upbringing and this, that, and the other. No. No, this is one of those things where people are saying, this is how I get mine, this is how I get what I want. And so if the guys are creating the Stockholm syndrome for the girls, and the girls are saying, well, you can have this, but for a price, and only after, like some girls, they'll ask you for stuff, and then after a while, you've bought them enough stuff where it's worth them laying down with you. But you have to get them the things they want. If you don't get them the things they want, then they might give you a kiss or whatever, and they'll say, okay, well, I'll see you, and see you next time or whatever. And so the guy's thinking, well, you were so hot and heavy on me, but then instead of buying you these sunglasses, I bought you these sunglasses, and so you were super grateful, kind of, but not really. And because of that, you are no longer as affectionate. It's a very weird dynamic going on.
And then so what happens with the guy after? Then he
Oh,
buys the
then
correct sunglasses and then he gets them?
next time he basically spends the more money on the next thing that she says she wanted, and then all of a sudden she's super grateful, super happy, and then he might get some. Then he has a better chance of getting some depending on the timing of his gift getting. So some girls are so slick with it that they'll only ask you for stuff while they're menstruating, so they can say, "Oh no, I can't," but thank you. So, and I've actually now that discussion, I used to hear that one a lot in college, We're like, no, 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 no. You have to wait till you're about to menstruate. So that way, when they say that they think they get to collect, you got to say, no, 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 I can't. And then they think that you'll do it after menstruation, but by then you broke up with them because you found somebody new. Or you say, what kind of girl do you think I am? You think you can just buy my affections? You can play that card for like a month, and then the guy's going to be like all apologetic and buy you more stuff to make you feel like it's not about buying you stuff. It's like it's just a game that people play, and they keep doing this thing over.
I mean, I actually know somebody who, not anymore, she's getting married and all, but like in the past when she was like, early 20s or whatnot, straight out of high school, not that she was out of high school in her 20s. I'm saying like after high school and into her 20s.
Right.
I had to correct myself. That was kind of funny. Okay. She used to do that, but she didn't sleep with any of them. She didn't do anything with any of them. She just gave them the title if, that, okay, yeah, we can date. But then, as they were dating, the guys would want to buy her stuff. Because I guess I don't know if she asks them for it or they just, like she manipulates them or she like, hints at it and they just want to make her happy and so therefore buys her stuff. But like, really expensive purses and like, wallets and glasses and whatever. So she was like an 18-year-old with like a Gucci purse, like that kind of stuff. But she didn't sleep with anybody. Yet her whole thing was, I'm not doing anything. If these guys are stupid enough to buy these things for me, out of their own free will, then who am I to say no? It's not like I'm not doing anything with them anyway. And then, this is what was the kicker. She physically doesn't do anything. Not a thing. But if they go around saying that they in fact did something with her, she'll be like, whatever. It's not like it really happened, but I got a purse out of it. So I was like, wait, but your reputation, what about your name and your image and whatever. It didn't happen, so I don't care. If people are going to believe that crap over what I say, then let them believe it. So I was like, that's interesting thought. I don't agree with it, but okay.
Well, basically, she let the person build their reputation on her without her having to do anything but be there and say, cool, whatever. So that way, she got what she wanted, he got what he wanted, which was a high reputation, most likely.
I guess. I don't know, but it
only cost him.
Kind of like that one movie with Emma Stone, Scarlet, or the letter, whatever.
Oh, the Scarlet, yeah.
Letter, or the letter. Now I forgot that. Yeah, it's like that movie. She didn't sleep with anybody, but that's just interesting to me. Yeah. Would I do that? I don't think so.
I might be a hoe one day. I could be. You never know. The night is young. Yeah. But so one of the questions that we were getting, and I know we got it like a half hour ago, but we were talking about basically how to keep, maintain who you are while you're building a relationship. So the question was, how much time should you, basically in percentages, should you dedicate to your relationship and dedicate to yourself? Like, how much time should you do that? And then she went on to say, as a young woman, you are told that, if you don't have a relationship, then you're basically just, you have no purpose, basically. I'm paraphrasing now. But and so she's trying to figure out how to separate, how to basically make time for her boyfriend and at the same time make time for herself, because her boyfriend wants more of her time all the time, and she doesn't even really get to go hang out with her girlfriends and stuff like that as much anymore. But when they do, she feels bad because he wasn't there or something like that. So the thing is, like, how do you, because men don't have this problem per se.
Some do.
Some do. Like, okay, like when I was with my ex, I did. When I was with my wife, when I was, when we were dating or whatever, not as much. But that's because I had dated my ex and I got over it. But it's so true. So my wife paid the price a little bit because she wanted to spend time with me all the time. And I used to, with my ex, I used to feel bad for, not inviting her to stuff or whatever and just spending time, and I would go hang out with my friends or whatever. But I can't remember exactly what happened when I realized it's like, you know what? I need time to myself. I don't need to be, around you I don't need you up underneath me every time I'm doing something. And so with my wife, I made it a point to where I would we'd spend time together, but we probably saw each other twice a week for a while, like Tuesdays and Thursdays because she went to school near where I lived. So I never really saw her on the weekends much. I never really saw. So for me, in the beginning of the relationship, that was kind of cool, because distance and everything made it where we didn't have to, where even though, because she had school on Tuesdays and Thursdays, so we could only spend so much time together anyway, and then if she wanted me to go to school with her, fine, I would do that from time to time, but I didn't do it every time that she wanted me to go with her because I needed to sleep. I was still performing almost every night. But I kind of enjoyed the fact that because weekends for some reason seems to be the big moment for people who are dating. They're like, okay, what are we doing this weekend? What's going on this weekend? We go hang out with your family or my family or whose family, whatever, right? And I was like, at first, when I first met, the in-laws, and they said, oh my God, this is cool, whatever. But I didn't feel like every time there was an event going on with your family that I had to be there. I didn't feel like every time something's going on with my family, you had to be there, because we still had our own things we like to do. Now, I understand that in her situation, she was kind of trying to get away and try to hang out with my family more, at times, right? Mm-hmm. But my family's funny. I can't help that. So, we are very entertaining. But the thing is, I enjoyed that gap, that space. So I could go to rehearsal. Like, she'd never gone to rehearsal with me until, like, maybe a year or so after we started dating. She had never been in studio with me until, like, a year or so after we started dating. We were engaged before she ever went to the studio with me. There were just lots of things. Like, I still had a certain amount of me space, me time. So, like, if me and my friend Randy were doing acting stuff, she was never really involved with that because, she had her stuff she had to do on the side. So when we met up, it was to bring new experiences together. It wasn't to, just basically go through what we went through last week. Oh, let's go see your family. Let's go see my family. Let's go hang out. Like, we'd go to the beach and we'd have to sometimes chaperone her brother and his girlfriend or whatever. Fine, but I didn't want to go. I didn't want to see her brother every week. I didn't want to see her. I didn't want. I think I just didn't want to do that every time we got together. So, and I know for her, she wanted everything to be. Let me say something about my wife. Let me get in close. Let me say something about my wife. My wife wanted to know that we were going to be together forever. 3 to 5 months into our relationship. She needed to know. She needed confirmation. She just needed me to tell her that you're the one, and I want to be with you for the rest of my life.
This is
it. She needed to know, and then she was gonna stay up underneath me until she found out. You see what I'm saying? Like, so she was always.
Did she know that you were the
one? I believe so. Like I believe that her thing was she felt like we say all the time. I knew from the moment I put my arm around her that this was going to be my wife. But that didn't mean that we didn't have a road that we were going to have to travel. See, she felt like, okay, well, since I feel the same way, I feel like you're going to be the one for me, because she wrote a list of everything she was looking for in a husband. And I met everything on that list, except for the black and blind part, which was not on the list. Everything else was on the list, except for the performer part, right? So, but all the spiritual things,
those are add-ons.
Right. These are perks, baby. You didn't ask for 2 good lungs, so you didn't get them. You see what I'm saying? Like, but everything spiritually that she wanted in a husband, everything that she wanted me to be in terms of my character and everything, that was on her list, and she prayed for that thing. So when she found someone like me, then she was like, I'm hooked. I'm in. Let's go. So for her, she didn't think about the road that you traveled to really build the bond to get married. She was like, you the one. Let's make this happen. You see what I'm saying? So a couple months in, and she was already asking, so do you see us getting married? Are we going to get married? Well, stuff like that. Well, what do you see for our future? Well, what do you do? And so it got to the point where I said, You can't keep asking about something that's that far off when we have yet to even really see if we can deal with each other when we're upset and how we solve arguments and things like that. Because if I can't solve an argument with you while we're, dating, how are we going to solve them when we're married and can't go and we're stuck in the same spot? Right now, you can go home.
Mm-hmm.
I got my own home. You know what I'm saying? You can go home. You know, So, and plus, one thing my mom used to tell me about, she used to, my mom and her dad told me. They said, look, one thing you have to think about, and this is a serious thing, is that she's never lived on her own. So she only knows, so she has an idea of what life is, outside of her parents' home, but she's never actually had to make life happen outside of the home, which means that no matter how much money she makes or how mature, how smart she is, whatever, she does not have the on her own experience. So she's going to, so it's going to be hellish at first, trying to find a system that works for both of you, because everything in her mind is ideal. Everything in your mind is practical because you live out on your own, Mm-hmm. And I tried to listen to what they were saying, but I'm like, oh no, it's gonna be cool. But you know what? they were both right, in that, because it was a crazy little adjustment, because everybody has their, well, when I lived, like, this is a phrase I got tired of real quick. When I lived with my mom or I lived with my dad, look, I'm not your mama. I'm not your daddy. But in the real world, we have to deal with things like this. We don't cry because we can't put that nickel to finish that bill out. If they are that desperate for a nickel, they can wait till next month. You see what I'm saying? We'll put a nickel on top. I'm serious. It was a real situation.
Oh my God.
You know my wife. You know when it comes down to that money.
I do.
No, that girl will find. I remember her searching through, because she was working for McDonald's headquarters at one point, and I was on the phone with her and she was freaking out. I'm like, "What's wrong?" She's like, "I'm missing 3 cents. I can't find 3 cents." I was like, "Oh, then it's not big of a deal." Because you know how they usually
freaking kidding me.
3 cents. She couldn't find the 3 cents to balance the sheets out, and they give you a gap because they know that sometimes things. She's like, I have to find you 3 cents. I said, baby, look, if it's that bad, I'll send you 3 cents. I guarantee I got that. And she's like, no, I just gotta find it. I gotta find it. She calls me back 2 hours later. I found the 3 cents. I said, 2 hours, baby, to find 3 cents. You spent 2 hours to find 3 cents. She's like, oh, I'm so happy with myself right now. I found it. I was like, we ain't never going. I told myself we ain't never gonna have no issues with money. So what happens after we get married? She didn't know real world math. Repossession and a bankruptcy later. We were she was like, I think I got it figured out. I'm like, yeah, cool. Y'all could have been friends back in the day. It would just not have been healthy for anybody. So, oh man, nope. But a lot of times when people want to spend all their time with you and they want to be up underneath you all the time, it's because they have some type of insecurity in the relationship and they're not really sure who you are away from them. That's a big fear people have. So I learned that.
Like, what are you doing when we're not together? What are you doing when you're on your own? Like, yeah. I don't know. I can't see you. So now I have to assume you're doing the worst. Because I have to prep myself in case that happens.
Exactly, and it's a big issue. It's like, see, people like me, like I've had maybe 1 or 2 jealousy issues, and then I let them alone because one could have ended me up in jail. So I was like, no, I'm not getting that mad again over something that I perceive happened in my mind. The other was just a downright insecurity thing, and I was like, but it didn't last long. And literally, it lasted for about a day. And I said, look, if I can't trust him, why am I with him? So I have to trust him until they give me a reason not to trust him. So, and I was with my wife, so I'm like, unless she gives me a reason not to trust her, I just have to trust her. Because I was really serious. And it's funny when you talk to yourself in a very serious tone, because you're like, because what's the point of being in a relationship with somebody for this long without trust? is there a point at all? You know, and I thought about it because I was talking to myself, so I had to deal with me. And I was like,
Mhm.
no, I guess there isn't. It's like, well, that's right. There is no reason to be with somebody that you don't trust. Don't let because that's jacking you up on the inside. You don't need to be jacked up on the inside. There's enough things going on in your life than to worry about whether or not your wife is stepping out with another teacher or something because you feel insecure in this moment because you don't have the job. Yeah, I guess you're right. Yeah. You know, you know, now you go on in there, you have yourself a cookie, you feel better. You know, but I identify my insecurities very quickly so that I don't, you know, lose control and just do dumb stuff. So, but a lot of people they will not identify their insecurities, and men have a lot of insecurities when it comes down to, especially if they felt like they found the right one, especially if they feel like the one that they're with, other people want that one. And then, like, at one point, I felt like I wasn't good enough for my wife. So, I kept picturing her getting swept off her feet, while in her classroom when another teacher walks in and says, I need your help. Could you mind staying after school with me? I wrote a whole scene. Now, y'all know that actors can write a scene, and then the whole thing is real to us until you see what I'm saying? And I wrote this whole scene out, bro. This scene was, it was, then who knows? I mean, he may have gotten a little too close, and then, whatever, and then next thing they're kissing, and
I'm he smelled divine.
Yeah. He's like, oh, and, I've been watching you forever. And she's like, no, I'm married. And he's like, and then he kisses her. And then she's like, doesn't know what to do. And then she realizes that she really wanted somebody like him and blah, blah. And then I'm at home just making dinner for us. And, you know. You know what I'm saying? Like that.
I think I've seen that movie. Yeah.
Yeah. But that's how real it was to me. Because insecurities will play you like that. They'll just play you like that. Mm-hmm. So the only way to not be insecure, like I remember one time when I was going through this little fit. This was the same night, matter of fact, before I had the discussion with myself. So yeah, that's about a day because the next day is when I talk to myself. She was still in school. She was studying for an exam or something. So I went with her to the exam. I wanted to see who was in the group because it was just a little study group. But there were more guys than girls in the group. It looked like technically if I hadn't have been there, then there would have been one guy for each girl. So maybe it wasn't really a study group. Maybe it was really just a way for people to get together and start making dates happen.
Mm-hmm. So it's study dates.
Right, it's study dates. Because everybody would have had somebody if I hadn't been there to make sure that everybody was staying away from my girl. Oh yeah, see what I'm saying? Like, it's amazing what your mind will do. But then that's when I realized, I said, wait, do I not trust her? And I was like, well, she hasn't done anything to make me not trust her. And so that plagued me for a little while. Then the next morning I had the discussion with myself, and it worked out. I refused to allow myself to go down that road every time she was away from me. Because I mean, she was just in Vegas like last year or something, so I couldn't have been. I'd have been out. I'd be like, no, sorry, Jules, can you watch the kids? I got to go out to Vegas. I just feel it. Something's wrong.
Question: when you ever felt those type of things, did you ever confront her about it? Did you tell her did you question her?
Well, no, I didn't question her. What I did was I told her what was going on with me, because so for me to sit there and question her would have been so wrong, and so what she did was she reassured me, and then and stuff. But then I told her about an experience that I had where I had a huge freak out over my ex and one of my good friends and whatever. And that one was just a figment of my imagination too. But but then I told her, I said, I don't get jealous very often. And I said, so for me, I got to work through these things. But see, I also knew that a lot of times my insecurities didn't come from just certain behaviors. It was because I felt like I had a very bad viewpoint when it came down to, if you were with this person, then it's no big deal for you to be with me and then be with somebody else. It's no big deal at all. So, but I used to tell this to people. So I was like, before I met my wife, there was a girl that was interested in dating me or whatever, and so she told me a little bit about her history. I was like, well, then I'm just another notch to you. I said, so what difference does it make? I said, nah, I'm good. I said, because as soon as you dump me, you'll go to the next person because it's no big deal for you because taking off your clothes is that much easier for you now than it was back in the day, and whatever. Yeah, she wasn't too happy with that. So that didn't work out too well.
Really? No,
No,
they don't
no.
like that, really?
No, well, in my defense, okay, I was already recently heartbroken. I had no filter whatsoever. Whatever you wanted to know, I was gonna give it to you raw. Didn't matter. If you wanted to ask me a question, you were gonna get the answer, but you weren't necessarily gonna like the way the answer was delivered. So, but with my wife, when I was dealing with the jealousy thing, it was mainly because I knew. Because she quit my job, so I was at home cooking and cleaning and taking care of issues, that would spring up at our house, like the whole place flooding out of the blue, But by the time she got home, the carpets were the carpets were fine, everything everything was done. I was Mr. Johnny on the spot, got everything taken care of, and but I felt like I wasn't living up to what the definition of a man is supposed to be. And then she was going to work, meeting all these professionals and everything. So I was like, okay, well, maybe, she's going to want somebody who can, who is in the same career as her and does all these things that, I can't do for her right now. And, and ultimately, she deserves to have, those things that I can't give her. That was so in my mind, that's how everything was coming together. But by the time I had the discussion with myself and I, had a very logical conversation with me, thank God, then when I talked to her about it, and this is what normally happens. If I have something that comes up that's bugging me or whatever, I just talk to her about it. I don't accuse. I don't go at her. I don't ask her for her moment by moment itinerary. I don't say, well, I wouldn't act this way if you weren't doing this. I don't do none of that stuff because none of that stuff makes sense. Because ultimately, this is the same person that who was doing these things when I met them. Like, ain't nothing changed in terms of the behaviors. It's like, you were looking good when I met you. Why you want to look good today?
Well, are you saying I was ugly yesterday?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, why all of a sudden you want to look all good today? Wait, what? But she was looking good when you met her. Well, yeah, but you got somebody now, so you don't need to look like that unless you're out with me. I don't understand that. Like, people want to control the clothes. They want to control, like, who was it that said they're not allowed to dress up or dress nice? It was somebody I was working with, said they weren't allowed to dress nice. They could only wear sweats. Oh, no, it was one of our callers. Said that they were only allowed to wear sweats and whatever because their boyfriend or husband did not like her looking attractive at all. It was the 15-year-old that got married out of the
Oh, yes.
Taiwan or China or something like that. Yeah. So, so it's kind of like that. Now, how much time should you dedicate? Now, I can't talk to you from what women would do. Men, on the other hand, men tend to feel like I can go out and hang out with my friends because I know that I'm not looking at other women that much when I'm away from you. But how do I know? Because women are weak, that you're not out there trying to catch another man, because that's the but that's the way men treat it. It's like, well, you're weak, because I can't do certain things for you. I can't buy you things, so this other guy's going to buy you things, and your friends are going to encourage you to go hang out with this other guy because he's taller, he might have more muscles, this, that, and the other. He may just be all these different things, and I'm not those things, so therefore he may make you. He may just make you happy. You might get swept off your feet that night, end up sleeping with him, and then you're gonna just not even tell me. This is the.
So you just called me a hoe, and
no self-control. Yeah, you see what I'm saying? But this is the way it plays out. Then when you ask us about it, we're like, no, that's not what I was saying. See, what I was saying was I have so many things that happen in my life that make me feel like I can't really trust you. Now, like I said, last week when I talked to the 7, This is one of those phrases. It's not about you. It's just about you because I can't. You know what I'm saying? That's basically what he said. It's not about you. It's about you. See, I can't trust you because of things that happened to me in my past. So if you ask somebody that you're with straight up, do you trust me? And they have a hard time answering the question, you might have to really consider how long trust takes to be built. But usually, the way it's supposed to work is it's kind of like innocent until proven guilty. You should give somebody an amount of trust until they betray that trust. You can't build a relationship on lack of trust. That doesn't make any sense. So, so I told the girls last week, I want you to go back. This is after our show. I want you to go back and I want you to ask your men if they trust you. It said, well, and I said, and time, and give it, give me a general idea how long it took him to answer the question. So 4 of the guys came back and said, well, no, I don't trust you because I really don't know if you really are in this the way that I'm in this. And so how can I trust you when I feel like you're just, using me, and
using him for what?
That's what the girl's like. Well, how am I using you? And the guy's like, well, you never know because girls like to use guys all the time. So I just want to make sure that you're not using me before I can really trust you. But I mean, so one girl, she said, so you don't trust me, but you want to sleep with me? But it's like, well, yeah, but that's different. You don't have to trust somebody to sleep with them.
Oh, the Lord.
Well, I guess technically, it's true. So. But the big thing, so I've been telling the girls that if someone doesn't trust you, you've been with them over X amount of time, if you ask them, do you trust me, and they can't answer the question or they find another way to answer the question other than, yes, I trust you, then this is going to be a battle. It's not even just this is more than counseling. This is something that is, like counseling will help you understand why the person doesn't trust you, but it doesn't mean that they necessarily want to fix the problem. You see what I'm saying? And so one of the couples, now I got to say, one of the couples, they decided to go get couples counseling because she told him, I'm out if you don't. So I can't wait to hear the report on that one. But but the main thing is, I said, trust is a very big part of it. Like, there are other things that you can overcome that, there are things that have happened in people's past that you can overcome. But if you don't have some level of trust in the core of the relationship, then how can they trust that you're going to go through the process with them? And then when you have to go do your own thing, and this is the big thing, especially for the dancer that's supposed to go on tour, you're with somebody who doesn't trust you. You're about to go on tour dancing for a recording artist, and I kind of hooked them up. You see what I'm saying? So I'm trying to figure out, what are you going to do about your relationship? Well, I was hoping that I'd just be able to, just talk to him all the time. Right. So you're going to spend a lot of time on your iPhone showing them the room and under the bed, making sure there ain't nobody in the room with you. Already they've been in rehearsals for this tour, right? And he keeps hitting her up almost every 5 to 15 minutes. Well, what are you doing? Well, what's the routine like? Or is people like touching you and stuff? You know what I'm saying? I'm like, good thing you're not an actor. You'd really be in trouble. So
that's so tiring.
It is. I mean, now I told you about my side, right? My wife's side of did exhaust me a bit because she wanted to know, who was at the studio, what we were really doing at the studio, the photo shoots, what was happening at the photo shoots, this, that, and the other. So that's kind of the reason I started to include her, because she felt like she just didn't know, so everything was left up to her imagination. But then, when she started to get more involved, at first she still would give me that face because the girl was attractive, or I'm singing to such and such, or and so she still wasn't all that hot or keen on the whole situation. But I can't remember the turning point. I honestly, but when I do, I'll tell you guys what it was, but I don't remember what happened. Oh, no. I taught her the difference between performing and, and the other stuff. Like, what really happens when you're on a photo shoot, and then if you're on an implied shoot, what do people really get to see and what's really involved and all that kind of stuff. And then if you're performing, you got a girl on stage, the routine. She had to know it all for her to feel comfortable. Now, The last time my wife was uncomfortable with anything that to do with my performance ability was kissing scenes. But then she decided she was going to become my pimp and determined that I need to make money when I kiss people. I mean, my manager or my agent, not pimp. Pimp is the wrong word.
Mm-hmm.
Pimp is the wrong word.
Right.
Yeah. So, it's okay. She's pimping you too, so you know it's cool. I mean, Matt, agent, yeah. Mm-hmm, yeah.
Right, Matt,
right. So, but I don't know how to determine how much time you should allocate to each. I know that if you're doing, I know that for it to work with me and my wife, I had to blend everything together. Like I had to know to take time for myself. She recognizes that when I need time for myself, and I recognize when she needs to go hang out with her friends. I recognize, but we took the time to really learn each other. And a lot of this came, except for the little performing stuff, a lot of this came before we got married. At least the roots of it all came. And then as we matured in our marriage, matured as a couple, we started to really understand, how important it is for us to have a little time apart, and at the same time, we bring new experiences back to each other. It's that insecurity that'll make people hang on so tight that they end up losing you because they don't trust you when you're away from them. They need you in their purview all the time, and that's not healthy. So
yeah. For me, I think there, like what Dee said, I don't think there's like a specific timeline that you like. I can only see 2 days and then 2 days for this, and it's not. I mean, if you need to do a schedule, then great, then go ahead. But because I feel like it'll change. There are times when you need to input some more time into your relationship at times, and then there are other situations when you need more. You need to invest more into your career or whatever it is that makes you happy, like your hobbies or whatever. Like because not everything is keen and the same and exact all the way through your entire life. There are certain situations sometimes that you need to, like, what if the person you're with or your husband is going through a really difficult time? You don't necessarily want to invest too much on your spend more time with just your friends when he's going through something really major in his life, or that kind of stuff. Or sometimes, so I think there are grace periods and there are times when things will shift more to this side or to that side, but for the most part you need to have a good balance. It should never be like all week I'm hanging out with my friends, I don't ever see him just because I want to hang out with my friends, and vice versa. Like, it shouldn't be like I only see I'm only spending time with him and not doing anything else, like, just for me. It has to be.
I'm sorry. How do you recognize when you are losing? Hold on. I tried to catch it. How do you recognize when you are losing yourself in your relationship? What are some of the signs?
I think I remember my friend, like one of my really good friends. I remember whenever she used to date people, she would change a lot to fit into whatever mold she thinks that the guy wanted for her. Maybe maybe they even told her what they like, and she had to fit that. I don't know, but like with each guy, something would change constantly. Like she's, when I know her as just her, she was very, she's super sweet and super kind and loving, and doesn't care about labels, doesn't care about brands, and whatever. She puts her own. I don't think that's worth $10. I think it should be worth $2. That kind of girl.
Right,
and then
right.
but then with and then starting with each person that she would date. First of all, every guy was so drastically different. There's actually no type that she liked. But like, one was like a super, super academic. One was like Italian, and one was like, well, one was something else, and one was a volleyball player. One was into glamour stuff, and like with each guy, her whole life schedule, other than her like career that she wanted, but her whole hobbies and things that she would do on the weekends and that kind of stuff completely would change. Um, and it's not until the guy that she is with now that I feel like she can completely seriously be herself with her, whether she's only with him or whether she's around us and all of us together. Like she, I feel like I could see that she's the happiest now. But in the previous relationships, there was one relationship she was in, she didn't even want me around. I don't know why. Um, like that was something that really hurt me because there was like a dinner thing and then she didn't invite me. She invited some of the other friends, but she didn't invite me. And I asked him why. And she, at the time, I guess she just says she forgot about, inviting me. But then I think it was planned that way because it was a dinner party.
Right.
And I think maybe she was worried or the people that she invited, at the dinner thing, when I look at the people that she invited, it was all very academic. And, I wasn't, either whether they're teachers or they're like super involved in administration of some kind, that kind of stuff. So with me, I worked at the time, what did I do? I forget. I think maybe at the time this was like, pretty straight out of like post-college. I think I was working either at Bloomingdale's or like, some I was a waitress somewhere. I don't remember because it was so long ago. But I wasn't fitting into that mold, of like the people that because at the time she was dating an academic. And so, yeah, it really sucked. It sucked a lot. But, that kind of stuff happens a lot.
She's dating an academic, so she can't invite you.
Yeah. And I was like, what the hell?
What was that really saying? What's that really saying?
No, because I think maybe she thought I would be uncomfortable, or she thought we wouldn't talk. We would have nothing to talk about because we would have nothing in common. I think that's what she was underlining thought was that like all these people are all in academia, and so like they're post grad school, like post whatever, and they're either teaching or they're in that mode, and so like. Me at the time, I just graduated. I only graduated college. Oh, I'm so sorry. Like I only graduated with a BA. Ooh, I don't have a master's. I don't have a PhD. I'm sorry. But like,
right.
I think that was the underlying thing that she didn't really recognize at the time that she was doing, but it was very subconscious, and how much she changed herself that she didn't even recognize it. So I think it's to the point when you start to neglect your friends, your family, you change, the stuff you like to eat, you change the way you dress, you change, like basically become a totally different person is when it's a real big issue. I mean, when you date different people, you can bring different foods into the mix, you can bring different hobbies into the mix totally, but then all of a sudden when you don't like something that you used to like, all of a sudden when, I mean, not like, oh, I quit smoking. That's different. When it's for the better, it's always great, right? But if it's like I used to love red, now I hate red because my boyfriend hates red. That's ridiculous. I used to love wearing this, but now I can't wear it because, my girlfriend says I look too good in it or whatever that thing was. So it's just like because of, even if you like it still, just because of what your significant other says you can't do, or what they don't like about it, and you completely have to change yourself, and even your friends are like, why are you doing, why? You used to love that, I'm not doing it anymore. That's when there's an issue.
Yeah, and even in the report that we started reading at the beginning of this thing, it actually tells you that the first indicators are when you start to hear from your friends and your family, because they're going to notice your behavioral changes before you do most of the time, and that's really just a warning sign. It's not like, okay, everything they see is correct, but
right.
We tend to want to excuse everything when it comes down to us changing, and some of the things that are changing about us, usually people aren't going to notice unless things are going really bad, or they're changing us for the better, right? But they're going to notice the change. And what you want to do is so your like, especially people who like, I have an inner circle. Okay, my inner circle is a very small circle, very, very, very small circle. So they will tell me really quickly. They're like, D, no, that doesn't sound like you, or D, that you need to get over that, or D. So far, these all sound like Jules, right? D, what's the time? It's a very small
Snap
circle.
out of it.
But I've never made a secret.
It's really just a dot.
Yeah, it's just a dot. It's just a floater in my eye. No, it's just a dot. But speaking of, so I went to the ophthalmologist recently. Y'all, hold on a second. I went to the ophthalmologist recently, and the ophthalmologist cleared me for skydiving and competition, so I can go compete.
Oh, good for you.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I mean, real quickly, I can read through some of this because it's very much. Actually, no, it's pretty long. Never mind.
Yeah, because if you look at the questions in there, like, the point is to go through and ask these questions, and then I know that as we ask these questions, people are going to start, we're going to start having to answer some of these questions. But one of the biggest things that you're going to recognize, because this seems to be a very hot topic, and I'm not reading a lot of these questions because a lot of these questions are very, you got to edit some of them. So next week we'll address some of these things, but like, for instance, one of them was like, well, how the F do you know when it's time to give up on somebody that you've invested in for, over a year and a half? Is it like over, or is it, these are not easy questions to answer because every situation is different, and the thing is like.
Okay, so let me tell you this. One friend of mine, she dated somebody for 2 years, and this was like this is not just some random person. It was actually a friend from our childhood. We all knew each other, and they, as after post, high school, college, whatever, and then somehow they grew feelings for each other beyond friendship. They really sat down and talked about it. Can we really do this without hurting our friendship? If something goes wrong, and they decided to make an adult decision and said, okay, we're gonna start dating. All of us were like, oh, are you sure? You guys don't, like, I don't know if it's gonna work out, but she wanted to do it, he wanted to do it. Okay, all we can do is support you and try to be as good advisors as much as possible when you want to listen, right? And so they dated. They fought so many times, like, I cannot even tell you. And this is the person that she started to wear a lot of designer stuff when she was around him. After she started dating him, she started being more keen to, oh, what brand is it? Oh, how much did it cost? And because that's what he was into. And so, and then, like, literally almost every week for so long, me and some other friends would talk to her. She was crying because, oh, it's gone to another fight and another fight. But every single time she was holding on and holding on because, but I see so much good. I see so much potential in him and so in us, and we were so good together all these times. But it's like continuous, same thing over and over and over again. And we would actually encourage, just break up. You guys, it's been the same. Like, nothing has changed. You're crying about the same thing every single time. Just break up. But she's like, no. She fought all the way through after like a year and something. And then she had to move, across the U.S. for something. He was supportive of it at first, and then decided to change his mind and say, no, I don't want you to go. Look for something else in L.A. And she said, okay, that's it. All of a sudden, something that she was holding on to with dear life for like a year and a half, being so distraught but still wanting to make it work, and she thought it could work, and she thought she was so happy with him. And then as soon as she heard that, like, a light bulb went off. Something happened in her that all of those things that thoughts of hope and whatever, of just that this relationship working out, she decided, actually, no, it's not worth it, and she cut it, and she broke up with him. And now she's so happy. So there's no time. There's no exact. Everybody is different. Every situation is different. Every relationship is different. Yeah, there are some similarities here and there, but only you really like only you will know when is the right time. Like you know, okay, I've had enough. Okay, this is enough. This is not a healthy relationship. This is not helping me. I'm not happy. He's not happy. Only you guys, the two that are in the relationship, really knows what's going on. I feel. I mean, other than like if you get counseling and you get therapy and all those things, and you can get as much help from the outside, which I completely suggest and support and encourage people to do. And then through the counseling, if you still realize, oh, nothing has changed, this is not going to work out, then only you really have that final say. Saying
When
it's
I
not going to work
realized,
out.
like with me and my wife, we ended up getting counseling um, early in our relationship, but
Mm-hmm.
that's because there were issues jumping up, very early on,
Right.
and so my thing was, let's handle it now, before it spreads out and becomes something, and really it dealt with her trust of me, which I found very interesting. But anyway, so there were a lot of things that made her very insecure. I had a lot of female friends. I'm a performer.
Mm-hmm.
I like to sing and make people scream or whatever. So she was very uncomfortable with all these things because it was very new to her. But
Mm-hmm.
my mom, who happened to be our counselor because she's the pastor of the church, she said, "Well, was he doing these things when you met him?" "Well, yeah, but I don't like them." "So you want him to change what he used to do?" "Well, yeah, because I want him to be with me." "So there's no there's no being with you and him pursuing these things?" And it's like, well, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that I don't like them because I don't feel comfortable with them because I know how, these girls are. "Well, I'm not asking about the girls. I'm asking you about him. You know, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and that's when we started addressing the real trust stuff. Um, but I also know that people tend to you talk to enough relationship counselors, and they're going to tell you that most people hold on longer than they should because they're not sure how to let go. Because
Mm-hmm.
when you invest enough time in somebody, you just can't see saying this is it. So there has to be so usually there has to be some kind of breaking point when you put yourself first. But in relationships, it's very hard to do that because you spend a lot of your energy investing in the other person. And so when is it time to let go? That's a question. That's, like I said, that's, and like Joel said, it's a very relative question. But when you forget how to be there for yourself, it's a good indicator that you're almost at the end. Because at that point, because after a while, and this is something I had to tell somebody very recently, after a while, everybody around you stops trying to tell you, show you, and help you. I got to that point in my old relationship where my friends stopped telling me that this is not good for me. My family stopped telling me this is not good for me. People who, my mentor stopped telling me because we were always disagreeing. We were breaking up and making up. There was just a lot of frantic. And me, I'm still trying to get married to this person. So that tells you how hard we will hold on to things because we're like, well,
Mm-hmm.
if we just get over this hurdle, then it'll work out. I'm glad now that I didn't do that because I now understand what happens when you cross that hurdle of marriage. It's a whole different monster. It's a beautiful thing, but as long as you know how to tackle the monsters together. And if I had married the other person, we'd have been so separated in our approaches to how we deal with things that it would have always been us fighting each other while fighting the monsters, and that wouldn't have worked out. So, but I remember in that relationship, I went to go talk to somebody, and they told me, they said, you don't know how to let go, and that's why what's going to happen is you're going to get really hurt and in this process because you know that this is not good for you. You know that because to be honest, somebody told me, and I just didn't want to hear it because I hated the idea of this, but I had the symptoms, or I had basically the symptoms of somebody who had been emotionally battered and abused, and so because I was all about pleasing her. At that point, I'd pretty much given up the idea of me being happy because we were always fighting about something. And then when I was performing or having a good time somewhere, she was always kind of suspect about how come she wasn't getting as much attention as I was getting, or this, that. It was just really not healthy, right? So my mentor pulled me aside for the last time and said, you need to get out of this relationship before it destroys you, because you're losing yourself in this thing. Your work quality is diminished. You're not showing up to, these opportunities that we have for you. You're not doing this. You're not doing that. You blah, blah, because you're so concerned about making sure about this and that and the other. And you're always tired. You don't have any focus. Blah, blah. And I'm like, no. I've got it. I'm good. And so as I sit here and talk to my 7, I'm hearing me over and over again. And I'm like, damn, was I that bad? And so, but I was like, I know I was smarter than that, but after a while, people stopped trying. They, and I've seen it happen, like even in the church, they stopped trying to tell me. They said, you're going to have to learn it your way. And my mom used to tell me, she said, when this whole thing comes to an end, she says, I hope that you're young enough and strong enough to endure the heartbreak and the recovery process so that you can get to the one that God has for you. She said, because this is the last thing I'm going to say. She ain't the one. So she told me that. I was still with the girl for a year and a half after that. Because no one wants to hear. Okay, come on. No one wants to hear that's not the one for you. Mm-hmm. No one wants to hear that. No one, especially.
I really know that one.
Oh yeah, but yeah. So, and let it be your mama. Oh man, and let it be a church mama.
Oh no.
Us, we PKs, we sometimes have this thing, and I'm just saying, like, you don't know everything, you can't know everything, and then when they're right, you're like, doggone it, and then, like me, I got mad at myself. I really did. I got mad at me for wasting a year and a half with somebody that I didn't need to be with. But then I think about it, well, if I had been single, I probably would have met somebody else, and then I wouldn't have met my wife because she was still in a relationship at the time. So I worked that out, girl. I worked that.
Good for you. This is what I think. I don't think there's really any point. I've said this before. There's really no point of regretting, because it's not like you can change the past. But you learn from your past, and you really learn from your past, and you strive to not make the same mistakes again. Your past it does not define you. It has given you experiences to make you stronger for today and for the future. So it has influenced how you've been shaped, but it does not mean that your past is who you are now. So you learn from it, you move on. You understand your mistakes, you accept that you've made the mistakes, and then you forgive yourself for those mistakes, and you move on. That's what you need to do.
Well, we're at where we were last time we asked this last question, but we got one question. Do you believe that God is still speaking today when it comes down to relationships and things like that, just in general?
Hell yeah! We're done with the question answering.
Oh my God! Oh, that's great. Yeah, I do. I believe that. Jules clearly believes that, and I saw this. Like, I knew what the second part of that question was going to be, but we're just going to leave it at yeah, we believe that, and when God sends people to tell you about things, He's going to send more than one person. So that way, you're not caught up on who He sent. It's going to be more than one person. So because they're caught up on my mom. So that was all on me. Yeah, but sometimes we get stubborn. This is, it is what it is. But yeah. Anyway, that is going to conclude tonight. So I guess we're going to continue this topic.
Yes, we are.
Next week, and we'll hit number 1 next week. That was just from the description.
The intro.
My wife said we weren't even going to make it through question 1. Technically, we didn't even make it to question 1. So she was wrong.
Question 1 next week.
Yeah, question 1 next week. Maybe 2. No. Maybe not, but because there's a lot of questions in question 1. Anyway, you guys, we want to thank you guys for tuning in to the Intermix Show Hangouts. It's been fun. It's very, very educational, but it's been fun. Please follow us. Don't forget to. You can get us on Facebook. Just type in Intermix. You got Twitter.
Yes, on Twitter.
Intermix_show. Yep.
And on Instagram, Intermix360. Intermix360.
And then you got us here on Google Plus, which is plus Intermix Show, one word. And other than that, you guys have a great night. We'll talk to you soon.
We'll see you next week, Monday night, 9 p.m. Bye.
Yeah.